Hi everyone, I can see the audience is coming in. Welcome to this Discord live event from WingRiders. The topic today is new and future features on WingRiders, and we're going to go through several features that we have which went live recently, and also look at a few features that are coming out in the future. So when you go onto the WingRiders website, I've already connected the wallet, and the first page that always opens up is the swap page, and a couple of features whilst this is loading. So when you hit this gear up here, you can see the light mode and system mode. Now both of these enable the light mode, and if I hit those, you can see it's completely changed, and the light mode is a very nice feature that I like to actually, I'm a dual user if you like, so I use both dark and light mode generally in most apps. So during the day I like the light mode, during the evening I like the dark mode. This is really optional, and it depends how you like it. Then we've got the currencies here, where you've got obviously ADA and USD, and so asset prices can be assessed in both of these, and we're going to have a better look at these when we go into the actual pro mode. So this is the regular swap panel, and if we hit this, suddenly, lo and behold, and I'm going to go to dark mode. I think I'm in a dark mode kind of state at this moment, and you can see the pro mode starts up as soon as you start to load up your asset. So let's just say from ADA, and obviously our favorite token, which is WingRiders token. Suddenly what you see is the panel and the UI completely changes, and lo and behold, you have something. If you've done trading before on perhaps a centralized exchange or more sophisticated trading platform, you would see this kind of layout where you've still got the swap panel here, and then you've got the chart here. Now, there's several reasons why we would use this, and I think the first one is that any trader, and bear in mind, none of this is obviously financial advice or trading advice, and it's really just for education purposes, is to really kind of see where you're at in terms of the price, if you like, and making entries and exits is very much based on that. So at the moment we're on obviously a long-term time frame, which here you can switch between the shorter term time frames or the daily and the weeklies, and for this demonstration I'm going to go to the hourly here. So generally, when I want to look at if I want to enter a trade, it's very useful when I want to buy an asset to have a look at obviously the chart that's here as well. And that chart tells me where it's at. I mean, you can clearly see over the last few hours, we had a huge rise in price here. And it's very sort of easy to say, well, whether I want to enter or exit based on obviously any strategy you have. Just flipping over to the 4-hour, which is the longer time frame, so each candlestick here is 4 hours, and I want to determine first of all, which direction to trade in. And this is my personal preference. I would come to one of the tools, and I'm a fairly simple trader. I don't use too many indicators and what have you, so I can clearly see, well, this is in an uptrend, so when it returns back to this line, perhaps this is where I want to make an entry here. And that's why it's really useful to have the trading panel, the swap panel, and the graph next to each other. There are many features here you can use. One of the other indicators I often use is exponential moving average, and I use usually 2 of these. You can set the values here. You go to the cog here. I generally like to use a 20. So this is all preferences, and it really depends on what you'd like to use yourself and what your trading strategies are. But I'm just going to show you just to demonstrate how the pro mode features really help you to hone in on good trades and really keep a clear mind and be very efficient when you're doing this. I drop that and I usually change the color. So change that to a yellow, let's say. Okay, very clearly see from both the line I drew before, if you remember the trend line, the actual moving averages here now, that we're in an uptrend. So I would be going long here. And that's just one demonstration of having a chart next to the swap panel and how useful it is. So This is obviously a new advanced design to make your trading experience faster, easier than ever before. You can get quick access to essential information and trading tools all in one place. That's another really big aspect of this, saving you time and effort. So with immediate access to things like the TVL, so this is the total value locked within the ADA and WRT pool. You can see it in different formats as well. So this is a line graph showing that. You can also see it in the column format to see, kind of the liquidity of the pools. And you can then flip over to the price, which is the usual panel I use myself, and the charts that I use, and for instance, to see where it's all going. And again, I'm just going to flip over to show you another tool that is often used. There are so many great sort of, if you like, drawing tools here that you can choose from. So for instance, I want to know, well, what was this price move? How much was it in terms of price move? And you can clearly see it was like a 3% price move. So if it retraces back down to a point, let's just draw that line in so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I would say if this price comes back towards this line, I would be entering this trade, and the minimum I would get is probably somewhere about this, because this is an up trade. It really helps me plan ahead when I'm entering and exiting a trade, and the fees for each swap is very clearly demonstrated on this side, which is really nice to see. But let's go from the top of the panel. So you've got toggle here. We're on pro mode obviously, and we've got limit order here, and currently we're on a market order. By flipping it, you get other choices and the limit order. Let's just go to the market order itself. So when you're placing a market order, let's say 10 ADA for WRT, you've got two other parameters that you need to really kind of think about. This is the deadline, how long you want that order to last for in terms of minutes, days, or hours, and that's when the order would lapse if it hasn't been filled. And very important for a market order, where you have to set kind of a slippage tolerance. The slippage is how much give you want the trade to have before it's acceptable for you. So with market orders, you can set the period you wish for the order to be valid for, which is the deadline here, and also the amount of slippage you're willing to accept. So that's really very simply what the market order does. And here you can see what type of a pool it is that you're trading in, and here it's the constant product pool. Obviously, we have the stable swap pools where you can trade between IUSD and JED. And you can see two other figures here, receives. One is the current estimate based on the current market conditions, but this is quite an important one for me as well, receive at least, and it shows you the minimum you're going to receive given all the kind of conditions you've put in there. And another really important bit of data here is the total fees. You can see exactly how much that is, and what I love about it is you can see a total breakdown from what are the swap fees, transaction fees, agent fees, and the oil fees. And the oil fees essentially is some ADA that goes with any transaction, which is returned once the transaction is executed, or if it even fails, you get that back. So it's nothing that goes into this total amount, but this is exactly the breakdown and the fees. And here again, you can see a summary of this pool. So you got the TVL 24-hour volume, pool APR, and fees, and some extra statistics here if you want to go even deeper into it, the breakdown of the APR of what it's constructed from. You can go on to the Cardano Explorer. You can see the amount of ADA and WRT in terms of values in there, and obviously the volume in 7 days and the fees that were generated within this pool in the last 7 days. Now, earlier on I said when we come here, I want to go back to the currencies. Now, currently, you will see that everything is in ADA, right? So it's useful to also get a perspective of how much that would be in US dollar value. And so for some people, it's easier thinking of everything in terms of dollar value. And you can clearly see everything now is displayed in dollar value for those who prefer it, or those who prefer ADA and they're comfortable with sort of crypto, if like pricing for things. You can see everything is now converted into ADA, which is a great feature, I think, and really helps traders sort of have that perspective of both the fiat value of it and the crypto value, and in this case, ADA. Going back up here, when we go to now toggle to the limit orders are of the type that you want to put in at a certain price. Now, obviously, the AMM model doesn't work exactly like the order book centralized exchange models because of just how they're set up, but it will give you a fairly accurate sort of reading of how much you will receive and what you want to do. And the first thing we see with the same order, let's just change the value to 15, is this set to market. And this gives you a pricing based on the market current value. Yeah, you can see every time I hit it, this kind of lights up and it kind of gives you a valuation accordingly to what the market value of these assets are, which is a really great feature. With the limit order, you can't set slippage, but you can set the deadline of how long you like it to be valid. And I will read this limit order sort of warning sign, and it says limit order does not support partial fulfillment. Your swap will trigger only when it can be fully executed for the price you set or better. This means the price can dip below your limit order price, but the pool liquidity is not sufficient to execute it. So it doesn't necessarily mean that your order will be fulfilled. That's what it's trying to say, if there's not enough liquidity at that price range, etc. So be aware of that. But this is a classic limit order. You can set the deadline, and hence, the deadline can be set, as I said, again, in minutes, hours, or days, how long you want the order to be valid for. You cannot set the slippage, and all the rest of the information is very much similar to what we were looking at before. You've even got the farm data here, which is fantastic. The farm and the conversions, and you can flip between them again. As you can see, the chart changes between WRT and ADA, which is a great feature there as well. And all the rest are very much the same. You see here now the target price. The target price is exactly what it says, including the swap fees. It's what you're hoping to achieve. So by adjusting perhaps the parameter here, so you want to receive for 10 ADA, you want to receive 28. You get an instant adjustment of the target price that you want to achieve. So you can see for all those who've used limit orders before, in the classic sense, you can set the price by adjusting the amount you want to actually receive. And once again, you've got a current estimate of how much you'll receive. But obviously, as I adjusted limit order that I want to receive this, it says I will receive at least this amount. But remember, obviously, if the price never goes there, that will not execute and the order will not be filled. So let's just bear that in mind. Once again, you've got a great breakdown of fees here. So you've got the swap fee, you've got transaction fees, agent fees, and you've got the oil, as I explained before, and exactly the same data. So there is nothing really that I would highlight, but apart from the fact to say that currently this pulls ADA at WingRiders. All the ADA, which is half the TVL of the actual platform, is always staked, and it's voted on by the people who obviously provide liquidity to a specific pool. There's a voting mechanism. You can find out both what the result was. So if I hit that, just to show you what it's like, you can see like the voting participation was 61% and Saki won in this case. Moving on again, as I said, so we saw the vote and we saw the results. So these are again some great features to exactly get a better grasp of information here in this trading panel. Hopefully that explains most of those. Just a couple of other things. So we also said that today we're going to talk about a couple of features that are coming up in the future. So recently, you might be aware there was a vote on the governance platform by the DAO to actually go ahead with the token launchpad, which is very, very exciting feature where startups can launch their tokens and early investors like yourselves perhaps can get access to these. And there's a lot of advantages to having a launchpad. Already, as you probably would agree, there's many great features and many ways to make multiple gains on WingRiders, but this is again another great feature that will give you access to new projects early on and really upcoming crypto projects that are not really kind of in circulation. Imagine if you were the first to buy a Bitcoin in 2010-11 and you held held on to it, you know, early stage, obviously you'd be doing really, really well today. It's quite simplified investment process. So there's some qualification rules usually with launch pads and each cell. And once you qualify, there's an allocation. You have a user-friendly interface to buy these tokens at a very preferential rate and participate in the sale. I mean, that's another one. Perhaps you want to also be diversifying your portfolio. So the token launch pads allow users to diversify their portfolio by investing sort of in multiple projects across different sectors. And that's another great reason for an investor or user to be looking at these tokens that will be going onto the launch pad. And obviously community engagement, I think, is a great thing as well. You know, it's kind of sharing with other supporters of a project, and creates kind of opportunities for users to engage with like-minded individuals. That's one of the major features. Another one is going to be a DAO vote about a portfolio page revamp. So that gives you a couple of glimpses of things that are coming on WingRiders. I'd just like to thank you all for attending and hope to see you very, very soon. Take care.